Maverick's xSeries, Underlying Logic on Business Wisdom. 36 Gaming Strategies in The Art of War, by Sun Tsu. Sun Tsu's The Art of War is a revered Chinese military treatise that delves into warfare and military strategy. While the text does not specifically mention 36 strategies, they have been derived from the text and employed in Chinese warfare for centuries. In this explanation, we will explore these 36 strategies within the context of Sun Tsu's The Art of War, providing more details and examples to facilitate better understanding. 1. Cross the sea without the emperor's knowledge. Conceal your true intentions from your opponent. The 1944 D-Day landings in Normandy succeeded because the Allies used Operation Fortitude to deceive the Germans about the intended invasion location. 2. Besiege Wei to rescue Zhao. Attack your enemy's weak points and use diversionary tactics. During the American Civil War, Confederate General Robert E. Lee split his forces to relieve pressure on Vicksburg, forcing Union forces to redeploy and ultimately delay their offensive. 3. Kill with a borrowed knife. Exploit the strength of others to defeat your enemy. During the Napoleonic Wars, the British funded and armed coalitions against Napoleon, indirectly weakening his forces. 4. Relax while the enemy exhausts themselves. Conserve resources and energy while the enemy tires themselves out. The 1968 Tet Offensive in Vietnam failed because the North Vietnamese forces were unable to sustain their gains, leading to their eventual exhaustion and retreat. 5. Loot a burning house. Attack your enemy when they are vulnerable. The 2003 U.S. invasion of Iraq was launched during a period of political instability and weakened military capabilities. 6. Make a sound in the east, then strike in the west. Create distractions to mislead your enemy. During the Battle of Leyte Gulf, the U.S. Navy feigned an attack on one front to draw Japanese forces away from the actual target. 7. Create something from nothing. Use deception to confuse your enemy. In the Battle of the Bulge, German forces disguised themselves as American soldiers to sow confusion and misdirect Allied forces. 8. Secretly utilize the Chen Kang Passage. Approach your enemy covertly. The 1942 British commando raid on St. Nazaire, known as Operation Chariot, involved a stealthy approach and a daring attack on a heavily defended German dry dock. 9. Watch the fires burning across the river. Exploit your enemy's internal conflicts. The Arab Spring uprisings of 2011 provided opportunities for external actors to influence or exploit the resulting chaos in various countries. 10. Hide a knife behind a smile. Appear friendly while secretly preparing to strike. The 1939 Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union was a non-aggression treaty that hid the true intentions of both parties, which later led to the German invasion of the USSR. 11. Sacrifice the plum tree to preserve the peach tree. Surrender something of lesser value to protect something more valuable. In the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, Iran agreed to limit its nuclear program in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions, preserving its economic stability. 12. Take the opportunity to pilfer a goat. Capitalize on your enemy's vulnerabilities. In 2010, the Stuxnet computer worm exploited security weaknesses in Iranian nuclear facilities, causing significant damage to their uranium enrichment program. 13. Beat the grass to startle the snake. Test your enemy's weaknesses with small moves. In sports, a team may use probing attacks or tactics to analyze their opponent's reactions before committing to a full-scale offensive. 14. Borrow a corpse to resurrect the soul. Revive old strategies to confuse your enemy. In the 1991 Gulf War, the U.S.-led coalition used deception tactics reminiscent of those employed during World War II to mislead Iraqi forces about the direction and timing of the main attack. 15. Lure the tiger down the mountain. Draw your enemy out of a strong position. During the Battle of Hastings, William the Conqueror lured King Harold's forces away from their strong defensive positions, allowing the Normans to win the battle. 16. In order to capture, one must let loose. Offer your enemy an escape route, only to ambush them. During the Battle of Issus, Alexander the Great allowed the Persian forces to retreat, only to ambush them and secure a decisive victory. 17. Tossing out a brick to attract jade. Entice your enemy with something of seemingly lesser value. In the 2018 Singapore summit, North Korea's commitment to denuclearization was a bargaining chip to obtain economic aid and political concessions. 18. Defeat the enemy by capturing their chief. Target the enemy's leadership to destabilize their entire operation. The 2011 NATO-led intervention in Libya focused on targeting Muammar Gaddafi, resulting in the collapse of his regime. 19. Remove the firewood from under the pot. Undermine your enemy's support system. During the 1989 U.S. invasion of Panama, American forces disrupted the Panamanian military's communication and supply lines to weaken their resistance. 20. Disturb the water to catch the fish. Create chaos to disrupt your enemy's operations. The 2008 Mumbai terror attacks by Lashkar-e-Taiba involved simultaneous attacks across the city, causing confusion and panic that hindered the response by security forces. 21. The golden cicada sheds its shell. Feign weakness to lull your enemy into complacency. During the 1973 Yom Kippur War, Egypt and Syria launched surprise attacks on Israel, exploiting the Israelis' overconfidence and perceived security. 22. Shut the door to catch the thief. Cut off your enemy's escape routes. In the 1944 Battle of the Philippine Sea, U.S. Navy aircraft carriers destroyed Japanese air power, preventing their retreat and securing a decisive victory. 23. Befriend a distant state while attacking a neighbor. Establish alliances with distant powers. During the 100 Years' War, England formed alliances with various European powers to isolate and weaken France. 24. Obtain safe passage to conquer the state of Guo. Gain your enemy's trust and use it against them. In 2014, the Islamic State captured vast territories in Iraq and Syria by exploiting the grievances of Sunni populations and infiltrating local communities. 25. Replace the beams with rotten timbers. Weaken your enemy's infrastructure from within. The 2013 Edward Snowden leaks revealed extensive global surveillance programs by the U.S. and its allies, undermining trust in their governments and institutions. 26. Point at the mulberry tree while cursing the locust tree. Misdirect your enemy's attention. In the 2016 South China Sea dispute, China focused international attention on its military presence while quietly expanding its economic and political influence in the region. 27. Feign madness, but keep your balance. Appear irrational to confuse your enemy. The Cold War-era policy of mutually assured destruction relied on both the US and the USSR maintaining a credible threat of nuclear retaliation. Despite the seeming irrationality of such a response. 28. Remove the ladder when the enemy has ascended to the roof. Withdraw support at the enemy's most vulnerable moment. In the 1991 Gulf War, the U.S. encouraged a Kurdish uprising against Saddam Hussein but later failed to provide military support, leading to a brutal suppression of the rebellion. 29. Deck the tree with false blossoms. Deceive your enemy by making something appear more valuable. The 2018 Cambridge Analytica scandal involved the use of deceptive online profiles to manipulate voters' opinions and influence elections. 30. Make the host and guest exchange roles. Infiltrate your enemy's ranks and manipulate them. During the Cold War, the East German Stasi infiltrated West Germany's government, military, and intelligence agencies, gaining valuable information and causing internal discord. 31. The beauty trap. Manipulate your enemy using charm or seduction. The fictional character of James Bond often employs this strategy, using his charm to manipulate and gather intelligence from female adversaries. 32. The empty fort strategy. Create the illusion of weakness to lure your enemy into a trap. During the Battle of Longwala in the 1971 India-Pakistan War, the outnumbered Indian forces created the illusion of a larger force to deter the Pakistani attack. 33. Let the enemy's own spy sow discord in the enemy camp. Turn your enemy's spies against them by feeding them false information. During the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, the U.S. fed misinformation to Soviet spies, contributing to the Soviets' decision to withdraw their missiles. 34. Inflict injury on oneself to win the enemy's trust. Deliberately harm yourself to gain sympathy or trust from your enemy. In 2001, Serbian President Slobodan Milosevic surrendered to the International Criminal Tribunal, portraying himself as a victim of Western aggression to gain sympathy from his domestic audience. 35 Chain stratagems. Combine multiple strategies in a coordinated manner to achieve a greater effect. The 1999 NATO intervention in Kosovo involved a combination of diplomacy, economic sanctions, and military force to pressure Serbia to end its campaign of ethnic cleansing. 36 If all else fails, retreat. Recognize when a situation is unwinnable and strategically withdraw. During the 2006 Israel-Hezbollah war, the Israeli military withdrew from Lebanon, recognizing that their ground offensive was failing to achieve its objectives. In summary, the 36 strategies derived from Sun Tsu's The Art of War encompass a wide range of tactics that emphasize deception, manipulation, and exploiting your enemy's weaknesses. By examining these strategies and their historical examples, one can develop a comprehensive and flexible approach to warfare, conflict resolution, and even everyday situations. Knowledge of these strategies can be valuable in various aspects of life, from politics and business to sports and personal relationships. Understanding these strategies enables individuals and organizations to navigate complex situations and make informed decisions.